The South Florida Business Report, the only show devoted exclusively to the local business community, is brought to you as a community service by Hospice by the Sea, serving Palm Beach and Broward counties for 30 years. And by Verizon Wireless, South Florida's most reliable wireless network. Now here's all the local business news from the lemonade stand to the boardroom.
Well, coming up next, I talk with North Palm Beach businessman Lou Carter, who's an author of 8 books and heads up the Best Practice Institute. In an interview taped earlier, I asked Lou what his organization was all about.
Best Practice Institute is a community of leaders that are dedicated to transforming themselves and their organizations.
Well, okay, that sounds kind of nebulous, right? But how did you get involved in this business?
Well, I found out there was a distinct need inside of organizations and social systems for how they change within and without their companies, from the leaders inside to the way they're perceived on the outside. And we found this from hospitals to large companies like GE, Hewlett-Packard,
Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, they're doing. Yeah. Steve Ballmer's doing a great job there right now.
Well, listen, did you what was your educational qualification to do that?
Yeah, that's something I'm still trying to unlearn right now. My education is in economics, it's in government, and also in social organizational psychology. Yeah.
So you kind of know what to do when you get involved in it. Well, right now when you're dealing with corporations, employee loyalty is at a rock bottom. Corporations are slashing jobs all over the place. They appear not to care.
Yeah.
And well, if you're going into a company, and most of them are like this, how do you offer solutions?
Yeah, well, one of the things that began my adventure in this field was working with a guy by the name of Warren Bennis. I wrote a book with him. It was my first book on leadership development.
Of 8, but I might say that you've written 8 books.
One of those 8. I hope they don't stay on people's bookshelves and collect dust and have them read a little bit more on those books. But we did a study with Warren. He's advised 4 U.S. presidents, including John F. Kennedy, and we found out that there's top types or factors for working in companies. Number 1, exposure to senior executives. Number 2, working directly inside the system, and cross-functional rotations.
What does that mean? Sounds pretty highfalutin there.
Yeah.
Cross-functional, whatever that is.
It's definitely erudite. There's a lot of academia there.
Yeah.
So what we did was we found out a lot of this happened at places like GE in Crotonville, called workout programs, where people come on in the room, and Jack Welch is right there, firing, telling them to go ahead and do things or not do things and initiatives. Put everybody in the room from different divisions so that they're not going outside the company, they're doing the real work in real time. And we can measure it. We can find out how it changes over time.
On one of these things, do you address this situation where, you got the executive suite and the ivory tower stuff up there, and these guys and women, they have no clue what's going on down 10 floors below there where the real work is done. How do you address that when you got to tell the president or chairman of a company that you don't know what the hell is going on? How do you tell them that?
Yeah. Well, we start from the bottom up. We talk to everybody. We have coaches, we have consultants. We have about 100 experts in the field who come into these companies and do that very thing. And we work with the people who run the initiatives. The actual people who can run these programs, who are directors of leadership development, directors of human resources development, right at the top, who care about the entire enterprise. So we talk to the top teams, we generate actual plans and discussions and designs, and we implement it.
I got you. Well, do you ever, what happens when you're talking to a guy who's running a company and he's got there and he said, what are you guys trying to tell me? I really know what the heck I'm doing here, and you're telling me I'm not doing the right thing. Get out of my office. How do you approach something like that?
Well, what's actually happened is quite the opposite. We've had heads of companies and CEOs who say that it's extremely important to do succession planning, to find out who it is inside their company who is going to take over positions. If they have to fire or rehire, they want to know that those people are going to be ready. We call them ready now candidates. We're talking to people like the head of GE Healthcare, wonderful, incredible leader, Vishal. He knows that is extremely important to his company. Leaders like Cami Bond, who's Director of Leadership Development, they know and have proven that they want to create metrics for their system.
Wall Street, though, you ought to be up on Wall Street. Wall Street, those guys with succession plans, that's a joke.
Right.
I know. We got, Citicorp, Merrill Lynch, all these things. These guys, it's been an absolute miserable failure when it comes to succession plans.
Well, there's a great company, Goldman Sachs. You probably know of it.
Right, Goldman Sachs.
On Wall Street.
Right.
A guy by the name of Steve Kerr, who used to work for GE, and he does succession planning and leadership development for Goldman Sachs. And he's created a new system for succession planning and leadership development. So those kind of companies are the ones that are staying ahead are planning for their leaders for the new generation, the millennial generation. They're looking at companies like Google, like Cisco, all these great companies who are enlivened, who just love their jobs, who want to be there every day. And they're finding out how to work with that culture, understand that generation. And it's coming from academia because they're the ones who are working with those students on a daily basis.
There are thousands and millions of great employees out there who want to do a very good job and are loyal and want to get in there hanging, but the top brass are just making it sort of impossible for them. So, it destroys all motivation.
I hear that completely.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. We call them hypos, high potential leaders.
Listen, we're running out of time, Lou.
Yeah.
You got to come back 5 or 6 months and let us know about your travels wherever you want across the United States, out of North Palm Beach. Okay. And God bless you, young man.
Thank you a lot, sir. I appreciate you having me here today.
Okay.